Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie, and Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, just made a bunch of big Marvel announcements about the way they're completely changing the upcoming movies and Disney Plus series. The beginning of the great Marvel pivot, and what's essentially the very beginning of the rebooting of the MCU. Not just the more obvious resetting of the way it looks on screen in terms of the characters that they're doing, the projects they're doing, but also rebooting the way that they make things behind the scenes. We're talking about a bunch of changes to what you know as Marvel, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. The Deadpool 3 trailer is supposed to come in a couple of days. Of course, I will do all the videos for it. There's a bunch of Super Bowl trailers coming. They've even started to release a bunch of Super Bowl trailers the past couple of days, so I'll try to do videos for as much of that stuff as possible. But just recently, Bob Iger did this big earnings call for Disney where he announced the entire company's financials, how they did recently, and he claims that he turned the company around in a big way, helping them make way more money. Last year, not just the Marvel movies and shows, but all Disney was losing a ton of money. It was a huge problem. A while ago, Disney brought Bob Iger back to turn the ship around because under Bob Chapek, the person that took over for Bob Iger, essentially the company started to go down the tanks. They and a bunch of other companies started losing just many billions of dollars on their streaming pivots that they had tried to pull off. Like, not just Disney Plus was losing a ton of money, but all the other streaming networks. It was totally chaotic. There were a lot of reasons why everybody was losing money, like basically pumping money into their streaming networks, expecting that it would deliver on subscribers. When it did not, they started to lose crazy money. So basically everybody's shifting back to the way they used to release all their movies and TV shows. The circle is now complete, and a big problem that Disney had was they were releasing way too much stuff way too fast under Marvel, under Star Wars. It wasn't just a Marvel problem, Star Wars had this problem too. With Disney basically trying to focus too much on those two brands, trying to pump out way too much stuff. Like they asked the question under Bob Chapek's rule, could any movie be a Marvel movie? Like could all movies be Marvel movies? And the answer obviously is no. One of their big problems was that they were almost too successful with Avengers Endgame and then Spider-Man Far From Home right after that earned over $1 billion. They basically took the year 2019 as a sign that they could do pretty much anything and fans would just come along for the ride. Like, we'll release anything and you'll just enjoy it because it has the Marvel name on it. Cut to a couple years later, oh how wrong they were. You can't just release anything and then put the Marvel name on it. Like, it actually has to be good. To be fair, though, a lot of the blame actually goes to Bob Chapek, who basically gave Kevin Feige the edict. This is also a Star Wars problem, too, but we're talking more about Marvel because this is a Marvel video. Basically forcing Kevin Feige to release more and more Marvel TV shows and more Marvel movies every single year. And another big problem is that typically they earn a lot of their money on families going to see their movies. It's one thing for a person to buy a movie ticket, like movie tickets are expensive, but imagine a family buying 4 or 5 movie tickets. That's way more money in Disney's pocket. They count on that. What happened during the pandemic is they started releasing stuff on Disney Plus and they got people used to the idea that they would just eventually or quickly after releasing it in theaters, release it on Disney Plus. Like, oh, I don't have to go to theaters. I could just wait like 30, 60 days and watch it for free on Disney Plus because I'm already paying for that technically. So one of the big changes that Disney, Marvel, basically like all the streaming companies did is pivot back to more theatrical releases. Like, no, we're not going to release it on streaming for way longer. A big part of Disney turning the ship around, Marvel, all their brands, Star Wars just in general, bringing Bob Iger back and sort of returning things back to a level that they were at before the pandemic, like before this explosion of streaming networks. What this basically translated to at Marvel was basically allowing them to not have to release a bunch of stuff from all their movies and TV shows every single year. And not just changing the schedule of all their releases, but also changing the way that they make everything too. Just allowing them more time to make more quality movies and changing the way they make TV shows to make them more like TV shows instead of just trying to chop up movies into 6 different parts. What Marvel's doing going forward right now is decreasing the overall number of Marvel movies they release per year. Deadpool 3, for instance, is the only Marvel MCU movie they're releasing this year. It almost seems like next year there's only going to be 2 Marvel movies. And they're releasing the number of Disney Plus TV series they release every year, and completely refocusing the movies and shows just in general on their core characters and brands, the way that Bob Iger talked about it, focusing more on their most popular, strongest characters and brands. That essentially means they're not going to be giving everyone and their sister their own Disney Plus series, and the movies will focus more on their more popular characters. It begins this year with Deadpool 3, Wolverine, the X-Men coming back, but it's just the start. This involves them changing a lot of their upcoming movie plans and upcoming TV show plans. Now I know a ton of you are asking, what's getting canceled though? Like obviously there were like billions of shows they had in development, billions of movies that they had plans for. What are they not doing anymore? If you look back at the original Marvel Phase 5 Comic-Con schedule they released, this serves as a good example. Also the Marvel Phase 6 schedule too. Originally, they were going to release around 5 Disney Plus TV series this year and about 4 Marvel movies, and we would have seen the transition from Marvel Phase 5 to Marvel Phase 6 with things getting way more cosmic heading into Avengers 5, Avengers 6, which were supposed to start next year and happen in the same year, like 2 Avengers movies next year back to back. That's a crazy high output. And you look at these schedules, you can see a lot of their titles feature either brand new characters or totally new teams that they were going to introduce. Basically, we were still kind of in this era of Marvel post-Avengers Endgame where they were just throwing a bunch of ideas at the wall with new characters, new teams, seeing what works before they decide who's going to be on that next Avengers team, while they stalled for time waiting for the upcoming new X-Men and Fantastic Four movies to start, because notice, there's no X-Men on the schedules here yet, even though Kevin Feige has since announced that they're making a new X-Men movie. Deadpool 3 got added after they released these, and that was the beginning of their X-Men mutant-focused stuff, which now seems like the characters that they're going to be pivoting to for the next 10 years of Marvel, confirming a lot of our theories. Mostly because there's a treasure chest of A-list characters in those X-Men movies that, for them, is an untapped goldmine. Deadpool 3 is just the beginning. A couple of the really good examples of stuff they're not doing going forward anymore are shows like She-Hulk and Echo, for very different reasons. The primary reason they're not going to be doing any more series like She-Hulk is the money. It always comes down to money. People will make lots of excuses like, oh, I hated this character, I hated the way they did these jokes, some of this other stuff over here, but really it just comes down to money, because Marvel, like all companies, only care about making more money. She-Hulk, for instance, cost them over $225 million, which is a lot more than some of their biggest movies. Originally, Kevin Feige said they didn't want to spend more than $150 million on each TV series.
That's not how that math works.
So unless like everybody on the planet subscribes to Disney Plus and then stays subscribed after these TV series, they're basically losing hundreds of millions of dollars every time they release something like She-Hulk. This also gets back to Marvel's quantity over quality problem under the Bob Chapek era of rule. A lot of the movies and the TV shows that are being released right now were actually greenlit and went into production under the Bob Chapek era of rule, where he was basically forcing Kevin Feige to release a bunch of TV shows and movies. And one of the bigger problems behind the scenes that they ran into is that Kevin Feige just did not have enough time to do the quality control that he would normally do on Marvel movies and TV series when they started releasing that stuff. He started delegating to his lieutenants, and apparently, like, probably the worst of it was actually during the Secret Invasion series. There's a book that somebody could write about all the problems behind the scenes with the making of Secret Invasion. So now Marvel is just releasing fewer overall series and movies per year, not only giving them more time to make the series, make them well, fix any issues that might come up, it also allows them to only focus on the stronger, more popular, or likely to become popular characters. They're not doing as many special presentations, like they're not making movies for Disney Plus specifically. And instead of trying to give a bunch of different characters their own limited 6-episode event series, they're focusing more on longer episode runs and multiple seasons of shows, starting with Daredevil Born Again. Essentially, they're trying to make TV shows more like actual TV shows that you would expect on normal television. We watch Daredevil Born Again Season 1, then we get Daredevil Born Again Season 2, and they just continue forward. This is why previously you haven't seen that many Marvel TV series get Season 2s, and when they did give stuff Season 2, like Loki Season 2, it wasn't until after they made Season 1 that they decided to make a Season 2. But one of the other big problems that Marvel has is there's like this backlog of TV shows and movies that went into development or already got made and are sitting on a shelf right now waiting to be released for the next couple of years, which is why a lot of fans, for instance, will not see the actual full extent of the changes that they just made, the good changes, for a couple years. What you'll notice for the next year or two is just fewer overall movies and series, but largely, like, all the stuff coming out the next few years was stuff that was greenlit a long time ago. And also, big surprise, Avengers 5 is still listed as Kang Dynasty in May 2026, like they haven't changed the title officially yet. That kind of implies that they're still going to use the Council of Kangs and just recast the character or multiple versions of Kang. If they make announcements about that, I will do new videos. But essentially, Bob Iger just confirmed a lot of my theories from last year after the rumors about all of these changes started happening. Marvel doing a soft reboot on the MCU just in general, using the opportunity to fix any issues they had with characters, recast anybody they needed to after Secret Wars, pivot to a more X-Men mutant-focused Marvel Phase 7, like the Mutant Saga. Generally refocusing on quality over quantity and their strongest characters and teams. A lot of people will credit Deadpool 3 this year with turning the ship around, like getting lapsed fans interested in Marvel's future again. In reality, Kevin Feige, the people at Marvel who are actually making all this stuff, started to make these changes way earlier last year. It's just that the movies take a few years to make, TV shows too, so you're not really seeing it on screen for a couple years. Everybody post all your reactions and your predictions in the comments below. Big reminder to a lot of Deadpool 3 stuff coming in the next couple of days, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that stuff. Bunch of big Super Bowl trailers from other stuff coming too. Click here for my new Deadpool 3 video, and click here to learn about Marvel bringing Thanos back. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.